Welcome everyone to our March HR Academy webinar. This is part of our Live on ServiceNow webinar. Today we are going to focus on ServiceNow Yokohama release, what's new for HR service delivery. We will be covering our February 2025 store release, our March 2025 store release, and our Yokohama family release. Our safe harbor slide. We may make forward-looking statements as part of today's discussion, and we request that you do not make any buying decisions solely based off of these forward-looking statements as they are subject to change. Today's webinar is part of our Live on ServiceNow event series. The QR code on the screen is going to take you to a community module, which will show you the other Live on ServiceNow events as webinars or 360 exchanges that we run. And in chat, I'm going to paste a HRSD Academy article that our product team updates on a monthly basis. We post the title and description of what to expect in our upcoming webinar. So please leverage that article to see what level of information or depth of information is being shared in the webinar and ensure the right folks from your team are engaged in these webinars to make most out of it. Some housekeeping rules. Today, we will be monitoring the Q&A panel. We will not be monitoring chat. So if you have any questions as we are presenting, please use the Q&A panel. We do have some other folks from our product teams as panelists on the call, so they will help us with the Q&A. The presentation from today is being recorded and will be shared on YouTube as well as on our event page. And I'm going to paste the link to our event page in chat. If you subscribe to this page, you will get a notification once the materials are posted in the event page. After today's webinar, you will be prompted to fill out a short survey. And I would please request that you take a minute or two, fill out the survey, give us your feedback of how the Academy session is working for you. And if there are any changes or any topics that you want us to cover. We definitely action on these survey responses. So please take the time to let us know how to improve these for you. Now we'll look at the introductions for the speakers. So I'll be one of the speakers today. I'm Amrita Nayak. I'm an outbound product manager in ServiceNow, focusing on HRSD product areas, specifically under case and knowledge management. For today's presentation, I'll be covering features and enhancements that sit in applications under case and knowledge management, which is agent workspace, employee relations, some of our offering in shared services, as well as our HRSD core case and knowledge management application. And I'm joined by Melody Young, who will be my co-host and co-speaker today. Melody, if you would want to introduce yourself really quick.
Yep. Thanks, Amrita. Hi, everybody. My name is Melody Young. I'm also another outbound product manager. I'm covering our NowSys for HR product. For today, I'll cover enhancements and updates to the NowSys generative AI capabilities, as well as our agentic AI capabilities. So looking forward to the session today.
Thank you, Melody. Before we go into the agenda, we will launch a poll. This is primarily for us to understand who we are talking to as audience today. And where are you with your intention to upgrade to Yokohama? Are you upgrading to Yokohama? Are you skipping Yokohama and waiting for Zurich? And also understanding in terms of your generative AI journey, where's your organization at? Have you evaluated it? Are you implementing it today? If you're not using Now Assist for HR, is there other tools that you're seeing? And if you've already invested in generative AI, what is next? Are you looking into agentic AI as well? So please take a moment to fill this out. I'll leave the poll open and continue with the agenda because we have a packed session today. But we will keep monitoring the poll on the side to deflect our content as needed based on the audience. In terms of the agenda, today we have updates for our Yokohama release in these applications. So I'll be covering the first four, which is case and knowledge application, which is our HRSD core. We have agent workspace for HR case management, which is our configurable agent workspace. We have a feature in employee relations and HR multi-instance integration. It is in bold because it's a very excited new offering that we have in our shared services space. So really excited to share more about this offering with you all. And last but not least, we have features and enhancements coming in Now Assist for HR. For Now Assist for HR, I'll hand off to Melody once I complete the first four. So we'll get started with case and knowledge. We have two features coming in case and knowledge, which is RTBI and RTBF service and HRSD benchmarks. So RTBI and RTBF stands for right to be informed and right to be forgotten. If you are familiar with GDPR, right, which is our general data protection regulation, it has strong emphasis on providing employees more control over their personal identifiable information, which is PII. So as part of improving our compliance and enhancing user having more control over PII, we have introduced two out-of-box services. So they are personal information report service and erasure of personal data requests. This can be leveraged by employees via Employee Center or alumni via Alumni Service Center to place a request to know where their PII is stored in the system or make a request to delete or erase the PII that is stored. So once the request has been played by an employee or an alumni, the data privacy agent who's working on the case gets a generate RTBI report UI action that is present in the screenshot. And on triggering this UI action, it uses an out-of-box reporting template that we've shipped to collect where all are this particular user's information stored in the system. So in order to enable this, what we've done is we've manually categorized all of the tables that have PII data or can have PII data into classes. And we've provided this class as part of our data classification plugin, which is installed with HRSD Yokohama release. And going slightly technical here, there are dictionary entries that are associated with these classes. That is part of our HRSD core demo data that needs to be installed on the instance. So once the agent generates the RTBI report, this report you see on screen will be a downloadable report and can be provided to the employee for review. So once the employee has reviewed this, if the employee wants to create a data erasure request, then the agent, once who has received this particular request, can look up company policies and make comments on the case, but the right to delete that data only goes to the admin after collaborating with the compliance team. So this feature is definitely our way to improve more compliance, specifically in the right to be informed and right to be forgotten components of GDPR. Next, we have HRSD benchmarking. So HRSD benchmarking, with this, what we've done is we've introduced some of the HR key performance indicators as part of our benchmarks dashboard. This is part of our platform. And here we've introduced average age of open cases, average age of closed cases by a certain COE, number of closed HR cases in a month and more. So there are more KPIs like these. The part about benchmarks, which is very appealing, is that it provides organizations instant visibility into these KPIs as trends, as well as gives them insights into where they are at with against their industry peers, right? So, you get to know more data around how are other organizations performing, and you can make data-driven decisions of either changing a process in a particular API to a particular area to meet a specific KPI. If you are interested to know more about benchmarking and how you can enroll in that program, I'm going to paste a link in chat that is going to talk to you about the general benchmark plugin and how one can opt in and opt out as needed, what type of environments are allowed to engage in this program, what is the type of data that's collected, and more. So definitely leverage that product docs link to get more information around benchmarking. Next, we'll move to Agent Workspace for HR case management. This is our configurable agent workspace. As part of talking to the features and enhancements with Agent Workspace, I will be going between slides and the instance to show you some of these on the instance. So please bear with me when I'm switching into the other screen as well. We'll get started with Triaging dashboard. So the ones who already worked in ServiceNow VTB are probably familiar with this kind of experience, but this is more like a drag and drop experience for managers and leads to triage cases. And out of box, the Areas where you can triage cases are for HR service, priority, or users within an assignment group. The data that's visible on these case cards are configurable by the manager or the lead. And it's a very easy way to get view into the case or make an update to the case. So I'm going to show you this on an instance really quick. So I'm going to hop on to an instance. So I'm on HR Agent Workspace right now. And the last icon in here is the Triaging dashboard icon. So I'm going to click on that. If you haven't configured Triaging dashboard before, you're going to see this configure button that's in my background here right now. I did have some configurations made, so it's going to fetch those case cards based on that configuration. But I'll talk to you about what am I referring to when I say configuring Triaging dashboard. So the configuration setting sits here. So I'm just telling the configuration that I'm making to Triaging dashboard is telling them pull in cases from this table, include child COEs as well. So you have a means to filter additionally saying from the cases that's being pulled in this table, do I want to pull out everything or do I have certain filters that I want to pull out? So I've marked active as true. To see what can be configured and visible on the case card, you have fields to show on case card in here. And all of these cases are categorized as per vertical lanes that you see here. I've selected HR service, so you see that the cases are aligned with the service, but we also have priority and assignment group as option here. When you do select HR service, you get to choose which HR services that you want to see the case for. And right now I have selected these. While transferring cases between service, when you are working on a particular case in Agent Workspace, you have a transfer case option, right? The same happens here. So if as a manager, I want to drag this particular case into general benefits inquiry from general inquiry, I just drag the case over, but it brings up a pop-up of asking me whether I want to transfer the case with an existing case number or a new case number. This is the transfer case option that we see when we work on the case in the Agent Workspace as well. And the reason it brings up this pop-up is because for transfer method, I have always ask as the option. But if I do select, based on my organization's process, if I always choose transfer to a new case number, I can have that selected here. And if I do have that selected, as I drag and drop, it will not ask me that question anymore. It will just move it into that service. So it's a very easy way for managers and leads to triage cases. The additional advantage about this is, say I want to make any change on this particular case, just having one click brings in a view of that case. I can add watch list, I can add values into fields and save to that case, make an update to that case. And if I also want to look at that case, I can go to the record of that case from the triaging dashboard itself. So extremely convenient in terms of triaging and making changes to the case. I'm going to go back to the slide deck and move us along to the next feature. So this is managing delegates from Agent Workspace. So with our Feb store release, what we've done is we've allowed for delegation module to be visible from within Agent Workspace. So in Agent Workspace, you will see we have the delegation module and all the sub-modules, which lets an agent know who are their delegates, who are they delegated to, and if there are any delegated HR tasks or delegated HR case that they have to work on. This also brings the advantage that we've introduced delegation for HR cases now. It is going to be a rule-based delegation. So a delegation rule will need to be created for the HR case table, and a granular delegation needs to be created for the agent. Now, given the time period in which the granular delegation exists, if any case is created or assigned to that particular agent, it gets delegated to the delegated agent. This is very convenient because now the agent doesn't have to switch between their agent workspace where they're working on a case versus the platform delegation module. So this avoids that switch between out of workspace and back into the workspace. Next, we have the HR appointment experience for deskless workers. As part of this feature, we've introduced support for appointment experience in Agent Workspace. Today, if you think of deskless workers, when they have to get an HR service requested and fulfilled, it's quite cumbersome for them because if you think of deskless workers, they are They either do not have access to their device all the time because they're in the field. It could be like a manufacturing unit, or it could be behind the wheels, right? Or with the patient. So they do not have easy access to their device all the time to engage with the agent as and when needed. So what we've done with this is, as part of our February release for Employee Center Pro, there is support for appointment booking from Employee Center. So if a deskless worker uses Employee Center Pro to book an HR appointment, they just specify their availability or the time that works for them. And what we've done on the HR front is we bring in that appointment request within Agent Workspace. Each of these appointment requests has an associated interaction with it. And based on whatever is your today's routing, right? It could be manual routing, or you could be using advanced work assignment. These interactions will then get assigned to an HR agent who can then engage with the employee either by sending meeting invite via Zoom or connecting with the employee and helping them further. So definitely enhances the employee experience while requesting HR service, as well as also helps the HR agent who's working with deskless workers to have a means to track the service that they are providing. Next, we have configuration setting page enhancement. This is part of our continuous improvement, right? We're always looking to improve the admin's configuration experience with Agent Workspace. So we have two enhancements as part of this. First one is preview on configuration settings page. So as an admin, when I'm using configuration settings page and making modifications, I'm not aware of what component that I might be affecting. Sometimes it's not very intuitive. So having a preview function lets the admin see what aspect of a record page am I going to be affecting by making configuration changes here. So the preview function helps them see that, get that visibility before making the configuration change. The second enhancement is sidebar visibility configuration. We've had a lot of customers who want to hide components from our contextual side panel based on the table in which the record page is at, right? So today, what they do is they go ahead and create a variant out of the box pages and then make the components hidden or visible. And adding sidebar visibility configuration to configuration setting page helps avoid creating that variance. So I'm going to hop onto an instance to show you both of these so it's a little easier to resonate as a new enhancement. So this is my agent workspace. I'm going to quickly go into the configuration settings page. And I'm going to say, for example, pick user field. So if I'm looking at a glance and I want to make some changes to user field, it doesn't really tell me what am I doing with this. If I make any change here, where is it that it's going to affect? So when I click on preview, it gives me a static image telling me that any change I make here is going to reflect in this component. So it's easier for me to analyze where that impact is going to be. And the other part about sidebar visibility. So when we talk about sidebar visibility, remember that we're not talking about sidebar discussions. This is different. This is for an agent to talk to another agent. But what we're referring to is, so if I go to an HR case, we have the contextual side panel over here, and we have components like at a glance, agent assist, employee documents, and so on. So we're talking about these components visibility. So for each of those components, we have listed the tables for which the components should be visible. So if you have additional tables that you want these components to be visible for, this is where you'll be adding it. There are caveats that have been called out over here. For components like private notes and knowledge blocks and the ones listed, we cannot add additional tables beyond what's out of box. And there are certain components that beyond making a change in here, there are additional properties that need to be set as well. So make sure that if you're using the sidebar tabs visibility configuration, you also take a look at the notes section here. But this is our attempt to make configurations for admins slightly easier on Agent Workspace. Going back to my slide deck for the next set of enhancements, we've made a lot of usability enhancements. I'm going to talk to them through the slide. So the first one being view responses. This is specific to the collect employee input task type. So we'd released HR task of type collect employee input couple of releases back, right? And this specific task type is used for gathering the employee inputs on surveys. And today, once the employee responds to these surveys, the data goes and sits into assessment table and is not really visible to the agent. So what we've done with view responses UI action is provided an agent a view into the survey responses that the employee has provided. So the agent need not go into separate modules to view them, but can get a view of what the employee is given as input from agent workspace itself. Second one is reminder to other HR agents. Prior to our Feb 2025 store release, reminders could be created on an HR case, but the user field was always read only because it would automatically pick the assigned to person for the case. But with our Feb 2025 store release onwards, we've enabled the ability to select another user. So an agent, say, if they're dependent on another user for a task or a manual reach out, they can create a reminder for that agent to make sure there is traction on the case that they're working. Next is response template filtering. What we've heard from customers is in response templates, when you have a lot of response template based on languages, right? It's not very easy to filter through and find the right response template specific to a language. So we've added the ability to filter out response templates specific to language. And in the language, we can select assigned to's language, open for's language, or subject person's language. I'll show you this on an instance in a bit once I finish this. The next is download attachments. So prior to Feb 2025 release, we didn't have an easy means to download attachments on a case. And when you think of it in terms of like, say, employee relations cases, right? As part of investigations, you could have lots and lots of attachments that you have on a case. And say if you have a process to export all of these into like a SharePoint folder or export it to share with another team for audit, it became very cumbersome for an agent to click each file and then download it. So we've provided a download all feature wherein with one click, all the files that are provided as attachment will be downloaded. And this also enables for selective download. So you can select the files that you want to download and then click download to get all the files downloaded at once. I'm going to quickly hop onto an instance to show response template filtering. So back to my instance, I'm going to go to a particular case. In this case, I have opened for as Abraham Lincoln, and I have verified that Abraham Lincoln's language is Hebrew on their profile. So as an agent who is working on Abraham Lincoln's case, I'm going to go to response templates, and I see that there are multiple response templates because by default, all is what's selected. But if I want to pick a response template in Hebrew, I can just say response template filtered with open for. And because Abraham Lincoln's language is Hebrew, the response templates associated with Hebrew comes up. Right now for the demo, it does say it is in English, but whatever content you have as part of this response template, that can be copied into the case and then responded back to the employee. So in terms of filtering for language, we have assigned to's language, open for, and subject person's language. I will switch back into this slide deck to go over the next set of enhancements. So we have some parity enhancement that we've introduced. These are parity enhancements specific to what we had in UI 16 and was not available in Agent Workspace prior, but we've added those as part of Feb 2025 store release. And also one of the enhancement is similar to a feature that's available in Service Operation Workspace, right? Other BU's workspaces. So first one is child case. We had the ability to add child cases from a parent case in UI 16. This wasn't available as part of Agent Workspace, but we've added that with our Feb 2025 store release. Copy case. This is similar to insert in stay that we see in Service Operation Workspace. Additional things with copy case is we can determine which fields get copied over from the previous case into the new case. This is not going to be like a parent and child. This is going to be a separate new case. In the activity stream, however, you can see from which case, the new case was copied from. I'm going to show you copy case on an instance in a bit. So the next one is HR templates for record page. As part of UI 16 or a platform view, HR templates could have been applied while case creation or after the case has been created. In Agent Workspace, we had the ability to apply HR templates only while case creation, but with Feb 2025 store release, we've gotten that ability to apply HR templates even after the case is created on a case or a task. And the last parity enhancement is following the case creation configuration while creating bulk cases, right? So if you're not familiar, we have the ability to create bulk cases in HR for a certain set of user segments. And these bulk cases are created under a particular service. So while creating these cases, we have the ability to follow a certain case creation configuration that's provided for the service. So it helps us add in values to those fields which are specific for that service. So any cases that is created via bulk case creation will have values in fields which follow the case creation configuration. So hopping on to an instance to show you copy case really quick. In the interest of time, I'm going to be really quick on this one. So this is a record page, and in our options, we have copy case. Before I hit copy case, I'm going to show you what fields are going to be copied into copy case. So I go back to my configuration settings, which is already open in here. And there is a copy case attribute section. So by default, out of box, these are the value of these fields get copied into the new case that's created. So if there are additional fields that you want copied, you can add it into this list. So once you go ahead and click copy case, you'll see that the new case has copied over all those default fields. So you can make additional changes and then go ahead and save the case. Going to our last set of enhancements or features for Agent Workspace, we've introduced the support for PDF document templates in Agent Workspace. In prior releases, we had support for HTML document template, but with our Feb release, we have the ability to preview PDF document templates, initiate doc tasks, as well as generate PDFs from within Agent Workspace. So this definitely helps the agent avoid switching between Agent Workspace and the platform UI 16 view of the case just to handle PDF document templates. Next, we have feature in employee relations. Excuse me. So this has been one of the major asks from employee relation customers as they have organizations with varied reporting needs. There is a need for having data from all the employee relations tables in one place to get like a consolidated view. So we've added a database view called SNHRER all, which will bring in data from all the employee relations table and have a consolidated view. Please note, this is a join. So when you are creating reports based off of the database view, you filter for the criteria that's specific to your organization needs. So this is definitely a much asked feature. So a lot of you probably are going to leverage this while creating your reports. Last in the list is our new offering, which is our HR multi-instance integration offering. This is, as mentioned, this is an offering in our shared services space. This is primarily for HR service providers and consumers to centralize HR service across multiple ServiceNow instances running HRSD. We have two plugins, two applications that is available on store, which is HR multi-instance integration for provider and HR multi-instance integration for consumer. These are built dependent upon the service bridge plugins for provider and consumer. HRMII will enable two instances to communicate with each other via registration and authentication. Once the registration is successful and a bidirectional flow is established, this will enable for provider admins to create remote catalogs, which the consumer admin can publish to for consumer employees to leverage on the consumer instance. Once a request has been placed by the consumer employees, the request is synced back to the provider instance, and via one of our out-of-box flows, an HR case gets created for the provider agent to work on. With our V1.0 version, we allow for the provider agent to communicate with the consumer employee via comments and attachments on the case. If this is something that is exciting for you and you think will be useful for your organization, definitely leverage the HRMII overview blog that I have on community. I'm going to paste that link in chat for your reference. So start with this overview blog. After this, if you're interested to know more, please reach out to your account teams and then they can give you more information around HRMII. With this, I will wrap the content I have and now hand off to Melody to talk to us about Now Assist for HR.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Amrita. Okay, let me please share. All right, I think I'm on the right screen here. Okay, so I will go ahead to share a little bit more about our March release for Now Assist. So in the March release, you're seeing 3 themes here. The first one is on search and self-service experience. So we want to make sure that we can enhance that experience for employees and make it easy for them to find what they need and continue to self-service even better. So some of those features under that theme are the external content connectors, the knowledge graph capability, as well as some enhancements to our virtual agent. This release also includes other features for our managers. So think about our journey generation capability, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then lastly, we're also increasing our agent productivity through our AI agents. So empowering our human agents to be able to work even more efficiently and get their tasks done faster. So with that, I will start with our first feature here, and that would be on the knowledge graph. So just to give everyone a brief understanding of what the knowledge graph is, think of this knowledge graph as a structured way of representing information about real world entities. So by that, it would be people, places, or concepts and their relationships to each other. So in the ServiceNow context, the knowledge graph could represent an employee who could be a requester, an agent who's a fulfiller, a department, location, just to name a few items. And what's included in this release is how we're simplifying the employee request side of things in Virtual Agent. So let's consider an HR use case where an employee wants to request for a new batch through the Virtual Agent. Out of the box, we're providing you with a knowledge graph for HR schema, which will have commonly used HRSD tables and will also enable the knowledge graph to work in a virtual agent topic. So going back to that example, when the employee uses a virtual agent to request for that badge, the virtual agent can gather the required data points from the knowledge graph and then input that information. So before the knowledge graph, what would happen is the virtual agent will ask a series of questions like, what's my name? What's my location, department? What's my badge style? What's my address? With the knowledge graph, the virtual agent would reduce the amount of inputs that I need to provide because it would query the knowledge graph schema to retrieve my name, location, department, and only ask me for what's my preferred badge style, because that's the only piece of missing information. So again, that's reducing that multi-turn question type of experience from 5 inputs that are needed from me to just one simple one that I would need to provide. So it's making my experience a lot smoother and faster to submit this request. And next up, oh, let me go, here we go. Next up, we have our external content connectors. So in 2024, ServiceNow acquired a company called Raytheon, which provided connectors to external sources and systems. Since then, we've been replatforming Raytheon capabilities and are releasing 2 out-of-the-box connectors for SharePoint Online and Confluence Cloud. And this would enable the crawling, indexing, and searching of these external repositories in a secure manner. So the external content connectors are easy to set up, require 2 to 3 inputs to establish a connection between ServiceNow and your external system. And you can also create a schedule to crawl the content whenever you need to. And they also provide more flexibility on what type of content or hierarchy is going to get accessed and pulled back into ServiceNow. Alongside with these connectors, we also have an admin UI to manage the content crawling and the setup of these content connectors too. And the way that your employees can access this or use the content connectors is through the virtual agent for this release. And employees can get like a synthesized response that's going to take information from these external sources, as well as from internal sources like your ServiceNow knowledge and catalog items. And the goal here is to allow employees to self-service more through virtual agent and not have to go between different systems to find the information that they need. One thing that I will note here is we have released a previous version of the SharePoint connector, which will get sunsetted as these new connectors have been released. So you can still choose to keep the old connector for the time being, but note that there won't be any enhancements. So definitely need to think about your migration path down the line. All right. So in terms of the virtual agent, there are some exciting enhancements that I wanted to talk about for this release. First things first, with the virtual agent, we were making it more conversational and for the virtual agent to better understand and address the employee's intent and the queries that they have. So in this release, the first thing we've done is extending our model integration to GPT-4o and Llama, which means that you can choose which model can power your conversational experience. In addition to this improvement, we're also handling the ambiguity in intent better. So what I mean by that is if an employee asks a question that has multiple meaning or maybe is similar to something else, we want to provide the employee with a list of options to first clarify the employee's question before pointing them to a resource. And we want to eliminate some of that disambiguation. So aside from that piece, the virtual agent can also get better at recognizing, the employee as an entity, know who's requesting for something, and also pull up the corresponding information based on who the employee is. And I think the last thing I want to talk about here is the auto launch experience too. So as the employee is going through a virtual agent conversation, the virtual agent will give the employee more alerts and information about what tasks the virtual agent is executing on. So this reduces the confusion on what the virtual agent is doing and just provides an overall better user experience for the employee. So all in all, these updates are intended to help our employees engage better with the virtual agent and improve their ability to self-service. All right, so we'll move on to a different persona now with journey generation. So with journey generation, this is targeted for our managers who are oftentimes creating these journeys that are going to help their direct reports through, just various points in their employment lifecycle, whether it's onboarding, offboarding, different things like that. So while creating these journeys, managers are often starting from scratch. So it can be time consuming and it's just, it can be repetitive, right? So with the journey generation feature, we are allowing managers to provide inputs on requirements on what they want in a journey. And now LLM or now SIS can help come up with a draft version of the journey plan that the manager had in mind and let them review it and edit it before publishing. And once we publish this, all the tasks that need to get assigned to various people who are involved in this journey will be automatically assigned. So we would just want to make it a little easier for our managers to create these journeys and not always have to start from scratch and just reduce the amount of effort that's needed to, create these journeys. All right, along with this, so pretty similar to the journey generation capability, growth plan generation would allow employees to use their natural language to describe goals or what's wanted from a growth plan. And using the information that the employee has provided, now SIS will generate that growth plan and accelerate the way that the employees can develop their own growth plans. So please note that for this feature, you would need to have the talent development and HRSD Pro or Plus enterprise SKUs to access this. Okay, all right, let's move on to our third major topic for today, which is around AI agents. So in our March release of AI agents, we have an out-of-the-box use case for requests that require policy validation, which typically tend to be manual and require a lot of effort for a resolution. So before I dive into more on the use case, I do want to just define a few terms just so we can kind of be on the same page on what they mean. When I say the word use case, it's kind of like a larger objective or just an end goal that we're trying to reach. So that would be resolving like a policy validation case, right? And each of these use cases will have various agents that are working together to accomplish this task. So each AI agent will have roles and instructions that are provided to them on what they need to do. And they'll also be mapped to specific platform tools like different workflows, integrations, and analysis skills that are um, allowing these AI agents to execute on these tasks. So in this specific use case, we are building it for tuition reimbursement scenarios where you may have to reference a policy to approve or disapprove of that request that's coming in. And in this use case, there are 7 out-of-the-box agents that are tied to it. And these 7 agents are intended to help accelerate the way that human agents can resolve these cases. So I'll go over the flow of these 7 AI agents and how they work on this type of case and help resolve it. So like in a typical case, right, when we get a case, we first want to understand what the case is about, gather the right context on it. So instead of me doing it or instead of a human agent doing it, now we'll have AI agents involved. So in the first step here, we'll have 3 AI agents that are going to get the information about the case itself, get information about the employee to understand, what's their employment or, just anything that would help us solve this case. And then also understand the content of the tuition reimbursement policy. We need to understand that before we check for eligibility down the line. So once we have that context that's getting gathered, we also have another agent that's helping with creating a checklist for this case. So this checklist is going to define different criterias and things that are needed to obtain this approval or to resolve this case. After we go through that checklist process, we'll also have an agent that's checking the eligibility for the employee. So they can use the context that they've gathered information from the first step to see if this employee will be eligible or not, and should this employee get the pre-approval or not. So once we get through that process, now we'll have one other agent that can create the approval task, send it out to the manager, and make sure we can get that checked off. And then lastly, once we get the approval or get the managers, sign off on it, the HR case closure agent will update the case state and the work notes for the case closure. So all these 7 agents can work autonomously and can just take that burden off of our human agents, that they don't have to go through these kind of repetitive steps to check eligibility for the tuition reimbursement case. So aside from that use case, we also have other AI agents that we're including as a part of this release. So we have 8 standalone agents in this release. And when I talk about this, for these 8 agents, what you can do is use them to kind of build larger use cases that are of interest. So the 8 that are included in this release are for time off request, getting holiday calendar information, total rewards, worker profile, expense manager, the employee details agent, HCM feedback, benefits enrollment, different things like that. And they're just the building blocks to help you build other use cases that are of interest to you. And we just want to give you that flexibility so that you don't always have to wait on us to build all these use cases and provide them out of the box. And last thing I will call out for today is our AI Agent Studio. So for any of the out-of-the-box use cases that we're shipping, that standalone agent, you can use the AI agent to help you configure and create use cases and other AI agents. We've been very intentional about how we want to guide you through this process because we know it's a newer product. We want to make it easy for you to go through the deployment and hopefully see value quickly through these AI agents. So in the AI Agent Studio, there's a few different features that are that can help you implement these AI agents in an easier way. So one of them is something called prompt rewriting, where we can help you auto-generate instructions that are needed for your AI agents and for your use cases so that you don't have to think about them yourself. You don't have prompt paralysis. Um, There's also recommendations on tools and also just promotion of what are the out-of-the-box agents so you can easily find it, navigate to it, and know exactly where you can start. And then lastly, there's also videos and checklists that can help you kind of get some information on what's expected, how do you get started with AI agents. Alongside with these capabilities, we also have a dashboard that's available to you to measure value and success. So in the analytics piece, these dashboards are built on performance analytics to measure the impact on the business, things like the tasks that are resolved using AI agents, conversations using AI agents, to usage metrics like the execution plans, the AI agent tasks, different things like that. And then in the same studio, you can also, test out your AI agents right from that view. So you can quickly see what you like and don't like about it and make edits on your AI agents and use cases and just have one place to kind of work out of. So with that, I think that about wraps up what I wanted to cover for the Now Assist front. We do want to call out just 2 resources that are available to you for this to learn more about this release. So there's a deep dive blog on our community about the Yokohama release for case and knowledge management. Some of the stuff that Amrita had presented earlier, as well as the HR multi-instance integration overview. I will be releasing a blog for the Now Assist capabilities, a deep dive blog on that. So please be on the lookout and check it out on our community. So with that, thank you all for joining today. Please fill out the survey that gets sent to you. It would be really valuable for us to know what is working, what's not, and just make these sessions more beneficial for you. We'll be staying on for a few minutes to look at the Q&A and answer any last questions that are on there. Thank you all.